All right, deep divers, buckle up, because today we're diving headfirst into a topic that's close to all of our hearts. Those tricky, sometimes sticky, always kind of confusing relationship red flags.
Oh, yeah. We've all been there, right? That feeling where you're like, is this a little off?
Exactly. And we actually got a request from a listener who's feeling a little bit checked out in their long-term relationship. Not sure if it's just a bump in the road or, a sign to head for the exit. So we're going to be their relationship Sherpas today, guiding them through the ups and downs, the twists and turns. You with me?
I'm totally in. I even brought my metaphorical hiking boots. And you know me, I had to hit the books. So we've got some psychology research, relationship advice columns, even a dash of neuroscience.
Neuroscience. Okay, now I'm really intrigued. Spill the beans. What's the brain science behind all this relationship drama?
Well, first off, it's important to remember that relationships, they're not static, right? They ebb and flow. Think about that honeymoon phase, all those butterflies and fireworks.
Oh, the dopamine rush.
Yeah.
Those are good times.
Exactly. That's your brain on novelty. It loves that new, exciting stuff. But as you get to know your partner better, that initial spark, it kind of fades. It's natural. But our brains, they still crave that novelty.
So it's not a bad thing that the fireworks aren't, constantly exploding?
Nope, not at all. It's actually healthy. But here's the thing. If we don't find those healthy ways to keep things fresh and exciting, well, that's when we can start feeling a little, checked out.
Right, you don't want to eat the same meal every single day. You need some variety, some spice.
100%. Relationships need that too. New experiences, challenges, keep things interesting.
Okay, so a little healthy conflict, a dash of spice, it's good.
Yeah.
But how do you know when it's just a little dip or a full-blown red flag waving in your face?
Right.
What are some of the big warning signs to watch out for?
Great question. Our research highlighted a few key things. Unmet needs, for starters. Are you feeling heard, appreciated, respected? If not, that can lead to some serious resentment.
Ugh, I've been there. It's like when you're always the one initiating plans, making the effort, and they're just not reciprocating. Eventually you're like, forget it, I'm going to that pottery class solo.
Exactly. And then there's communication, or rather the lack of it. Can you talk openly and honestly with your partner, even about the tough stuff? If you're avoiding those hard conversations...
It's like ignoring a leaky faucet.
Right.
Eventually, it's going to flood the whole kitchen.
Precisely. Those unresolved issues, they don't just disappear, they fester and cause bigger problems down the road.
Okay, so unmet needs, poor communication, those are big red flags. But our listeners feeling checked out, what does that actually look like, in terms of behavior and emotions?
It goes beyond just having a few arguments here and there. It's more like you're emotionally withdrawn. Your heart's putting up walls and you're just going through the motions.
They're not invested. You're not really putting in the effort. It's like you're on autopilot.
Exactly. And that's where things get really interesting, because what if both people are kind of checked out? Is that it? Is it over? Or is there a chance to reignite that spark?
That's the million-dollar question. And that's what we're going to dive into next.
Get ready, because it's gonna get deep.
All right, so we've established that checked out feeling. It's a sign something's got to change. But what are the options? Is it worth trying to save things or time to move on? Our listeners at a crossroads. What our research say about navigating this tricky territory?
Thankfully, our sources had some pretty solid advice, some actual paths forward, and they all boil down to three main directions. Fully engage and communicate, or slowly withdraw, or make a clean break.
Okay, three very different approaches. It's like choose your own adventure, but for your relationship. So let's break them down, starting with fully engage and communicate. What does that even look like?
It's about having those tough conversations, the ones you've maybe been avoiding. Express your needs, your concerns, all that stuff simmering beneath the surface. It's about vulnerability, honesty, but also listening to your partner's perspective.
So, no more passive-aggressive sticky notes or hoping they'll magically read your mind.
Exactly. Be direct, assertive, but respectful and constructive. The research even suggests using I statements. Instead of, you never listen to me, try, I feel unheard when I try to talk about my day.
Okay, that makes sense. Shifts the focus from blame to understanding. But what if you've tried to communicate before and it didn't go well? Like they shut down or get defensive?
That's where things get tricky, and honestly, it's a red flag in itself. If your partner isn't willing to have those open and honest conversations, it might be a sign they're not really invested in growing the relationship.
Ooh, tough pill to swallow. But better to know sooner than later, right?
Yeah.
So let's say both people are on board with communicating. What happens next?
Then it's about problem solving, together. Brainstorm solutions, compromise. Try new things to meet each other's needs.
Date nights, therapy, couples retreat in Bali. Give me the specifics.
Well, that depends on the couple and the issues, of course. But the key is that both people feel heard, respected, and there's that willingness to put in the work. Relationship expert Esther Perel, she talks about creating rituals of connection. It's intentional ways to reconnect, reignite that spark.
Oh, I love that. Like little pockets of magic in everyday life.
Mm-hmm.
But what if, even after all that effort, things just don't get better? What if you're still feeling checked out?
That's where those other paths come in. Slowly withdrawing is an option some people choose when they're not sure if they're ready to go all in on fixing things, but they also don't want to just, abruptly end it.
So it's like a trial separation, but without actually separating.
It can be. It's about creating some space for yourself, focusing on your own needs, your own happiness, and just seeing how the dynamic shifts.
So not like ghosting them or anything.
Yeah. No, not at all. It's about healthy boundaries. Prioritizing self-care. Maybe you take that solo trip you've been dreaming of, or reconnect with friends, hobbies you've neglected.
Right, you're not shutting the door completely, but you're not pretending everything's peachy either. You're just getting some breathing room to figure out what you want.
Exactly. Get clear on your needs and desires, separate from the relationship. It can be a powerful way to gain perspective, clarity.
Yeah, I can see how that would be helpful, especially if you've been feeling like lost or unsure of yourself in the relationship. But what about that clean break option? When is that the best move?
Sometimes, even with all the effort in the world, relationships just run their course. It's about recognizing when it's time to let go, even if it's painful. And that's okay. Doesn't mean anyone failed. It just means that chapter's over.
I imagine that takes a lot of courage, a lot of self-awareness.
It absolutely does. Be honest with yourself, with your partner, even when it's hard. Prioritize your long-term happiness and well-being, even if it means a tough decision right now.
Wow, heavy stuff. We've covered a lot of ground here. Science of novelty, art of communication, timeouts, clean breaks. We've climbed Mount Everest of relationship advice.
I think we've earned a celebratory sip of something delicious. But before we do that, I want to emphasize these are just frameworks, not like rigid rules. Every relationship is different. The best path forward depends on you, your situation, your values.
Absolutely. And you know what? We've talked about the what and the how. But let's talk about the emotional side of things, the fear and uncertainty that comes with these big relationship decisions.
You're so right. Fear can be a total roadblock. Fear of being alone, hurting the other person, fear of the unknown. It's a lot to unpack.
Exactly. And that's what we're diving into next. Get ready to face those fears head on. Okay, so we've talked about those big decisions, right? Trying to make things work, taking a step back, or just calling it quits. But no matter what you choose, there's going to be some fear involved. Like, it's just human nature, right?
Oh, absolutely. Fear is a powerful emotion, and it can really hold us back from making changes, even changes we know we need to make. And one of the biggest ones is like the fear of being alone, especially if you've been in a relationship for a while. The thought of starting over, it can feel terrifying.
Oh, yeah. It's like, who am I without this person? Will I ever find anyone else? What if I just end up alone forever, with my cats and a Netflix subscription? It's a scary thought.
It's so easy to go down that rabbit hole. But here's what our sources really emphasized. Being alone, it doesn't have to equal loneliness. In fact, it can be an amazing opportunity for growth, for self-discovery.
Okay, I like where you're going with this. How do we flip that script, turn fear of being alone into a positive?
Think of it as a chance to reconnect with yourself. Rediscover your passions, explore new interests, build stronger relationships with friends and family. That time alone can be a gift, a chance to really figure out who you are, what you want out of life.
It's like that saying, you can't pour from an empty cup. Got to fill yourself up first.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes that means taking some time for yourself, even if it feels a little scary. And another big fear that came up in our research was the fear of hurting the other person. It's natural you want to avoid causing pain, especially to someone you care about.
Yeah, breakups are never fun, even when you know they're for the best. So how do you deal with that guilt, those tough emotions?
Well, first, remember that you can't control someone else's feelings. You can be kind, compassionate, honest, but ultimately, you're not responsible for their happiness.
Right, that's a good reminder. It's easy to take on that burden, but At the end of the day, we're all responsible for our own emotional well-being.
Exactly. And sometimes staying in a relationship that's not working, it actually causes more hurt in the long run. It can lead to resentment, frustration, and more pain down the line.
So by ending things, you're actually giving both of you the freedom to find happiness, even if it's not with each other. Tough love.
Exactly. And then there's the fear of starting over, which we touched on a bit earlier. Putting yourself back out there, dating again. It can be daunting, especially if you've been out of the game for a while.
Oh yeah, the whole dating app scene, it's a jungle out there.
Yeah.
But is it really starting over, or is it more like leveling up?
I love that. It's like you're taking all that wisdom, the experience, the self-awareness you've gained, and using it to create something even better.
You're not a newbie anymore. You're a seasoned adventurer. You know what you want, what you deserve, and you're not afraid to ask for it.
Exactly. And lastly, we've got the fear of the unknown. What if things don't work out? What if I make the wrong decision? Those are valid fears, but they can also keep us stuck.
It's like that saying, the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. Easier said than done, though, right?
Right.
How do you quiet those doubts and just take a leap of faith?
Well, one thing that kept coming up in our research was focusing on what you can control. You can't predict the future, but you can choose how you approach it. With curiosity, courage, an open heart.
So instead of seeing the unknown as scary, we can see it as an adventure, full of possibilities and a chance to grow.
Exactly. And remember, you're not alone in this. Lean on your support system. Talk to friends, family, maybe a therapist. Surround yourself with people who lift you up, who believe in you.
It's like having your own personal cheerleading squad. And you know what else can help? A little dose of inspiration, a little adventure.
Oh, you're going to plug Micky's channel again, aren't you? Micky-to-life?
Maybe just a little. But seriously, if you're feeling stuck, need a little escape, his channel is perfect. Gorgeous scenery, insightful stories, and of course, delicious whiskey recommendations. It's like a mini vacation for your mind and soul.
Can't argue with that. So listener, as we wrap up this deep dive into relationship red flags, remember this. You've got the strength, the wisdom to navigate whatever comes your way. Trust your gut, lean on your support system, and don't be afraid to take a leap of faith.
And hey, if you need a little liquid courage along the way, Micky's got you covered. Cheers to happy, healthy relationships with ourselves and with others. Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive.